Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to get introduced to basics of programming languages. Okay, basics of programming languages. So you can consider programming language, any programming language like Python, Java, C, C++, any language. The basic is very simple. Like in a regular language, like any language, what will be the basic components, basic building components? Any language will have words. You will have certain rules called grammars. Using that grammar, you will combine the words to form a sentence. And then you can combine the sentences to form like a story, to make a story, right? So this is the basic building blocks for any language. The same thing in programming language. The same thing, you can do the same comparison in programming language, where first you will start with, but in any language, first you will start with learning the alphabets. And then with the alphabets, you will start to form the words, right? Same thing, first you will start with the learning words. So what is word in programming language? The variables and the reserved words, these are the basic components of programming language, like the words in the regular language. So variables and reserved words, you will get introduced what is variable and what is reserved word. We'll see that first. And then by combining the words, you will form a sentence by using the grammar. The same thing here in programming language. Grammar is known as syntax. By following the syntax, every language, like how every language has a grammar, like that every programming language has syntax, which is grammar of programming language. By following the syntax, you will combine these the basic building blocks and create a statements. You will say that as statements. Okay, like how a sentence in language, like that statement in programming language. And then you will combine the statements by using some programming concepts, and like how you will combine the sentence to make a story, like that you will combine the statements and syntax to make a programming element, to create a programming elements that will do some functionality. So this is the basics of programming language. First, let's see what is variable and reserved word. What is variable? Variable is nothing but a memory space in your computer. Whatever you're processing, that should be saved in memory, and that whatever element is there in the memory, that should be processed by the processor. So whatever needs to be processed, that should be allocated in memory space. Okay, so that, okay, let me draw it. For example, variable is like nothing but a box, like you can consider simply as a box, and you can put anything inside that. You can just put the number, or you can just put your name, whatever. Okay, so whatever you want to save in your computer memory, you can just save it. For that, you need some memory space, right? The memory space needs to be accessed by the processor. The processor can access it easily, but for you, you need a name to know where you have saved that particular element. If you have saved your name, where you have saved your name. Like computer can access it by following the system programming language, but you need to know where you have saved. So you're giving some name to that memory space. That the name is called variable name. Okay. For example, if you're saving that memory space as yes, then you're providing that variable name yes. Okay. So this is called variable. So simply you're providing a name for a memory so that you can access it later. So you can simply consider the variable as a box, okay, where you're giving some name to that box, and you can put anything inside the box. You can put 7, you can put floating point or string, or literally speaking, you can put some, you can store some image on that, or you can save some video file on that, anything. Okay, so you're acquiring some memory space and you're providing some name to that memory space. That is called variable. It has the name variable because you can just uh, um, replace the whatever you have put inside that box. You can replace it anytime with another thing. Okay, so varying, it can have the varying value inside that box. You can just replace the element with anything. Okay, so the value which is inside that box is always variable. It can be changeable. That is why it is called variable. Okay, so simply saying variable is nothing but a memory space which is given some name. So in that memory space, you can put anything and you can change anything. Since it is changeable, it is called variable. And all languages, as I told you, in any languages, variable is kind of a basic building element where it stores the data. Okay, since for process doing any kind of programming, you need the data, right? The data will be saved in the variable, so it is the basic building block. So each language has its own way to specify the variable. Okay, so in JavaScript, to specify a variable, you may need to use the var keyword. That is a way that you don't even need to create a variable, but generally var is the keyword that will be specified to say that it is a variable. Okay, for example, in this example, you can see var sales total some value. Okay, so the variable name is sales total. That is the memory location. You have given some name. That name is sales total, and you have put some value in that variable. Here, that is, it is another variable. The variable name is shipping, and you put some 10 value on that. Here, the grand total, this is also variable, but instead of putting some value here, you're putting two other variables in this variable. Okay, so whatever value 47 and 10. So by adding this, the grand total will have 57. Okay, so this is how we will assign variable. For assigning the variable, you have to have the name of the variable and the equal and the value that you want to assign. Okay, this is the syntax. Where is the keyword? And then you have to give the name of the variable, equal symbol, and the value that you want to assign in that variable. So this is a syntax to assign any variable. And as I told you, variable, the name comes because you can always change the value anytime. Okay, so how can you change the value? Simply just specify the, for example, the sales total, the sales total is 47, right? So here you're then you're adding some shipping. Then now you're saying that sales total is going, it's getting updated as sales total plus shipping. So now the sales total is 57. Okay, so always you can change the value of the variable anytime. Okay, by using the same equal operator. So that is about the variable that you need to know. The next element that we are going to see is reserved word. What is reserved word? Each language has its own dictionary, which has a set of words which has specific meaning only to that word, only to that programming. For example, if you're training a puppy, to that puppy, you will teach few words. Go, eat, catch, sit, stand, like that. You will just train the puppy with certain words. When you use that word, eat, then the puppy can understand the meaning. Eat means it has to go and eat. If you say any other word other than eat, just like dog or any other word, sing, like that, if you use any other word, the puppy cannot decode it. The puppy cannot understand. So whatever you have tried, only that words it can understand. And also you cannot change the meaning of those words. If you say eat, it can only understand it is eat. Okay, it is, the meaning is it has to go and eat. So it will not change the meaning. The same thing you can apply in programming language. Each language has set of words which has specific meaning. You cannot change the meaning, okay? And also you cannot use the same word for other purpose in other instance. So it's called reserved words. Each word has its own meaning and that should be used only for that purpose. So that set of words are called reserved words or keywords. Each language has set of bunch of words that is called reserved words that should be used only in that context. You cannot change the meaning anywhere. Okay, so those words are called reserved words. So reserved word is also basic building block in any programming language. All the programming language has its own dictionary of reserved words as shown in this picture. So for example, if you say if, the if it is a condition. In most of the programming languages, it is the same meaning. If means the condition. You will learn all these things later on in the other in the next module, in the next chapter. If means condition. The condition is true, do this, or else do the other set of things that is given. Okay, so this is the condition. Similarly, float means it's like it's a kind of data type. Okay, it's a kind of data type which has the points. Okay, floating point means this, it's not a whole number. Okay, so that is for in any languages you will use the same reserved word to specify it. Okay, next thing. So those are the things that you need to know about reserved words. Reserved words, you cannot use the words for any other purpose. Next, identifier. What is identifier? It has its direct meaning. The programmer gives name to variable or function or class or anything. The programmer will specify a name to specify something, some memory space or a method or class. That is called identifier. The programmer is identifying that thing with that word. So that is called identifier. You cannot use reserved words as identifier because, as I told you, the reserved words should be used only for that purpose. So identifier is a naming. Naming convention. Naming can be anything. Naming variable, naming function, naming class, naming object, naming any other concept. That is only for the identification of the programmer associating those elements with the programming elements. So there are certain rules followed by each programming language to name the identifier. The general rules are it should start with either uppercase or lowercase of alphabetic character. It's not start with numbers. It's not start with any other character. It can start with the underscore, but it doesn't. It's not start with any other character. But it can have the numbers afterwards, but the starting point should not be the number. It cannot include the space. You cannot use the reserved words. Those are the general rules to name anything, to name the identifiers. Okay, so JavaScript also follows the same kind of rules to name the identifiers. So the next element that we are going to see, next programming element is operators. What is operator? Operator is a symbol that performs some built-in calculation. There are different types of operators for that. Arithmetic operator, comparison operator, assignment operator, logical operator, and this bitwise operator. So we'll see these things in detail in the next upcoming chapter. But just understand, since I'm explaining the basics of programming, I'm just explaining these operators. Arithmetic operators are like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, exponent. So reminder, if you involve these kind of operations in your code to perform some operation, then it is arithmetic operator statement. Okay. Similarly, less than or equal to, greater than, those kind of operators are comparison operators. Assignment operators, assigning some value, checking whether these two values are equal, not equal. That is called assignment operator. Logical operators and or not, involving those operators are called logical operators. Okay. So there are different certain operators are there. By using that operators, you will form expression. Expression is the combination of the variable and then assignment operator and then any kind of these different types of operators. By using that, if you are forming expression to perform some operation, then it is called expression. It is a combination of items. Expression is nothing but the combination of items like variables, literals, operators, and parentheses, whatever. It's called expression. Okay, so just be familiar with the term. Expression is nothing but a literal value or variable that combines with the variables, operator, and other expression. Operands is nothing but the variables or literals which is combined by the operators. Operators is nothing but the symbols used to perform some to manipulate the operands. Okay, operands is the numbers or values. So if you use some operators to manipulate this operands, then it is called operators. Literals is nothing but the value of some identifier, literal strings or numbers is called literals. So be familiar with these basic programming terms. Then adding comments. So you should be familiar with the comments thing. You have done the commenting in HTML and CSS. Similarly, you can do the comments in programming language. Each language has its own rules to perform the commenting. In JavaScript, to do the line comment, you will use double slash. To do the black comments, you will use slash, star, and then you can just do some certain set of black, and you have to reduce. You have to close that block of statements with the same star and this one. Okay, so this is called block comments. So when you do the commenting, the IDE will not interpret that into the coding. It will not decode that into code. Okay, so just to specify some just to give some certain comments about the coding, you can use the commenting. So the next video, I'm going to explain about object-oriented programming.